4 or 5 years ago, he called attention to a rock quarry in Tucson and said it was a child sex trafficking camp.
Going to be in a situation where they can say a shooter on a tower. So we do not have any weapons or personal protection. Right now, we just got people.
A militia that espouses QAnon theories is meeting unaccompanied minors at the Arizona-Mexico border, and federal authorities are apparently aware of it. The group, called Veterans on Patrol, is led by a man named Michael Lewis Arthur Meyer. In 2018, he claimed a homeless encampment in Tucson was actually a child sex trafficking camp. That led to what my next guest calls a Pizzagate-style hysteria. Tucson police investigated and debunked Meyer's theory. He's also been charged with destroying water stations put out in the desert by the group Humane Borders.
Along the Humane Borders illegal trafficking route. Now, once again, this isn't aid used for asylum seekers. The asylum seekers are turning themselves in. This is aid used for the cartel scouts.
Melissa Del Bosque spent time on the border looking into Veterans on Patrol and some of the people involved with the group. She's the co-founder of the Border Chronicle, a Substack newsletter. So, Melissa, based on your reporting, the homeless encampment incident with Meyer really seems to kind of inform what this group is doing at the border.
Right. He attracts a lot of attention on different social media platforms.
Agent Rich, Detective McMillan, Deputy Joe Fiacco, Agent Walker, any of you other feds out there that's not doing your job, check this out. What is that? Is that a directed energy weapon? Not being secured right now. You're joining us. This is Lewis Arthur with VOP News. We are running Operation Leaning Tower. What you're looking at is a directed energy weapon, a NexRad, part of the NexRad network towers of installations they put across the United States of America. Some of you know them as Doppler radars. We discussed how these particular weapons are the steering wheel, which makes the military's weather weapons more deadly for Americans. This tower is activated. I've been out here for a little while now. There are several towers that are currently not being protected by law enforcement. They're left wide open. We just want to remind the FBI that more than one tower can be taken out at a time. You know, Detective McMillan, you're absolutely right. What good does taking one tower out do? Doesn't do a whole lot. The media will do something to keep that buried in the mainstream, you know, and let the public know what the military's doing. Sometimes the humming gets really loud. I guess that's when they're cranking up. This is military property. Let's just be very clear, not just U.S. government property. This is a military-directed energy weapon. It's humming louder now. In the event power was to ever be killed, they can still operate these weapons. Every single NexRad installation has backup power. You're seeing the fuel right there on their backup power supply. Now, this directed energy weapon, much like a lot of other directed energy weapons, they are easily accessible to the American public. So, you know, we've already talked to some of the businesses and the people that are around this tower. I've actually let 2 people know this morning what exactly this tower is, how it functions. They're pretty shocked. If you happen to be on this channel watching this later, I told you what I was going to do. This is a directed energy weapon being utilized by the U.S. military. They've embedded their weapons technology within civilian infrastructure. A lot of your news stations that run these quote-unquote Doppler radars. These radars are part of a network that permits the U.S. military, well, gives them the ability to manipulate the weather systems that they're creating by dispersing all those chemical and biological agents into our atmosphere, stratosphere. This directed energy weapon is hiding in plain sight within an industrial complex area. This one was activated when weather weapon Helene, you can look on the radar maps, and if you want to look at the NexRad towers in the state of Oklahoma that helped steer Helene all the way up into western North Carolina, you are looking at one of the directed energy weapons with over 100 others. The frequency transmissions that they were emitting kept that storm in a little box and steered it all the way up. They wanted that lithium in North Carolina. You're hearing about $1.4 billion that HUD's going to be providing to rebuild western North Carolina. Please don't fall for that smoke screen. And when you see Josh Stein getting all giddy about something, pay attention out there. Not a single business owner that had their land, their business condemned by FEMA is having that land returned to them. Not a single property owner who took FEMA's buyout. A lot of people, man, a lot of people gave up before the election was won, you know, or given, however you want to view it. None of those people had their lands back, and these weapons are so activated, and we promised you in North Carolina that we were going to shut these directed energy weapons down in a smart, safe way. Because it is the United States government, the military, that plays God with the weather. Now, this weekend, the state of Washington and Northern California is joining VOP news in the state of Oklahoma. So in 3 states, we're going to have people outside these directed energy weapons, the NexRad towers, your quote-unquote Doppler towers. And we're going to be running simulation attacks against several of these weapons at the same time. On Saturday and Sunday, there's a scheduling issue with someone on Saturday, so we're going to be doing both days. And if you are in a state and you're willing to get out to one of these locations where you see these directed energy weapons in your neighborhood or close to your neighborhood, then we're encouraging you to get out. Contact us, info.vop. Yes, SBX platforms too. Now, the goal is to get all the ground-based units that cause those sky poisons to form into weather systems. So we can't just stop at NexRad. We are going to have to run attacks against HARP facilities. We are going to have to run simulation attacks to shut HARP down. Because NexRad's working in conjunction with HARP is they're your 3 main ingredients the military's using. Now, we take out all these ground-based units. They can't manipulate those sky poisons no more. There's no use for them to even poison us. They can't form weather systems without those weapons being deployed. And this is Tesla technology, for most of you who aren't aware of frequency transmissions. And the things that they're doing with the nanodust and nanotech right now should be having a lot of people stop talking about everything else and really start focusing on what they don't want you to do. They don't want the civilian population to revolt against what the military is doing to it. They don't want you guys to fight back. Not in this way. You can fight back by donating to a lawsuit or sending money for their weekly podcast for someone who's telling you about this stuff. You can buy their t-shirts and their coffee cups. You can go beg your politicians when they can't do nothing about it. Or you can exercise the responsibilities that come with your rights and lace your boots up and then take action to do something yourself. Don't let these cowards that wear the military uniform operate with impunity. They need to be afraid of what they're doing to the American population. They're poisoning their own children. If you're listening to me and in your United States military and you're active duty right now, or if you're in law enforcement and you're trying to protect these directed energy weapons, you can't protect them. There are too many that's exposed, and we would love for you to put out a national alert and let everyone know that we're threatening to destroy these weapons that murdered our families in Western North Carolina. We double dog dare you. Tell the nation what we're doing, Agent Rich. Release the audios. Release the videos of the recordings. Let people know why Kash Patel and Dan Bongino won't forward the complaints up to Pam Bondi. Because Pam Bondi would have to notify the sitting commander-in-chief that he's in violation of federal law and he has to stop poisoning Americans. He has to shut down these weapons that are being used against us. The president's in violation of federal law right now. Of course, Kash Patel and Dan Bongino won't send that information up to Pam Bondi, and so President Donald Trump has a shield protecting him. We need you guys to help us break through that shield. Let him know that if he's not going to stop the military treason, that you're going to help us stop it ourselves. I never carry weapons, so, well, my Bible, but I got my sword. Worried about terrorists. Yeah, they should be worried about what the military's doing. I'm not playing God with the weather now. I wouldn't poison your children, you know. I'm not up in that atmosphere poisoning you guys. I'm trying to stop it. But good news, Bobby Kennedy did come out, if you aren't aware, and he did confirm. He was asked a direct question, and Bobby Kennedy for Health and Human Services did confirm the stratospheric aerosol injections and weather manipulation is DARPA. It's Department of Defense. So now we got calls going into Pete Hegseth, and hopefully that Fox News guy can start shutting down the sky poisons. But, you know, the more people that get aware like you guys, the more you're telling other people, then pretty soon we're not believing a lie anymore. Because I'm tired of breathing that crap. I'm tired of seeing the skies the way they are. I'm tired, you know. Well, there's 4 of you. Well, that's because CNN in the UK, and they know I'm a journalist. They have not put in those stories that I've already reported to the FBI. I've already notified the county sheriffs that I'm running simulations. They can expect me, and it's not just me. They've gone to multiple states. Our family's all over the U.S. So my families have gone to multiple NexRads. They're doing the same thing. Sitting down, filming, letting their followers, people know what these things are so the awareness can get put out there, you know. And we're trying to build an alternative weather system because we want warnings. And when I was talking with the FBI, they were like, well, if you took the towers out, then people aren't going to get warnings for the storms coming. And I was like, well, we got technology now. We can build a people weathers app, and we can have people that are storm chasers, and they love the weather. There's people out there like that. That's where I get a lot of my information from. They know the weather, and they love it.
We can have those people run our own national. Wow, okay, now we got 7 of you. Not dangerous, sir? Oh, okay. So someone called online, they saw my live stream, and all right, so I got swatted, huh? Michael Lewis Arthur Meyer. Oh, my vehicle, we're dropped. We're dropped and picked up. Yeah, so we're dropped and picked up at this location. We still got, we're going to be checking out around 5:30ish is when we're going to be headed out, but I still got, I'm going to do more filming and, you know. No, I won't go and trespass on that facility. There's a posted barrier, and everyone that's been going out on my news channel, they're not crossing posted barriers. They're getting pictures to show everybody where they can't access it. And then we'll find ways around those posted barriers to make sure we're lawful. All right?
A lot of you are calling 911 while I'm at the next rads. I want to thank you for doing that. That is the reason why we have so many law enforcement personnel participating in our attack simulations. If you weren't making those calls, those videos wouldn't happen. And we just want to thank you, because there's nothing you can do to stop God's children from marching forward to accomplish what he deems need to get done. Now, what we're going to be doing while we're working on the next rads, I do have the posted signs, and we're going to be giving you guys live stream videos at the Directed Energy Weapons at Oklahoma University. I'll be going back to their Weather Command Center. That's where we first launched on April 17th. We launched Operation Simulation, and that was the first time, and that was Lone Wolf Strike. And so far, in every simulation that I've launched against the next rad, and others have gone out, so we have 7, 8, 9. We had 10 simulations launched, and every single simulation, the next rad was destroyed. No harm came to life. And law enforcement was not able to respond before the destruction occurred. There was far, far too much time. And there's a lot that's going on right now that we're going to be covering over this broadcast. So we're going to be jumping off of what's really going on here in Tent City and having a conversation down here about what the United States military is currently doing, and the commander-in-chief in the White House. And while you see your Marines being deployed, and your National Guards and the military being deployed, and federal forces being deployed, and just straight up SWAT, you're seeing martial law being implemented without it actually being martial law. It's insane what they're getting the public accustomed to. And you have so many people cheering on this military. Your United States military is poisoning every single one of us. They've dispersed new chemical and biological agents. You have more sicknesses coming out. They're not done. They're not playing games. They're not playing around. USAP operations are real. Everything we've reported is real. Your United States military, your people that you're cheering for saving Los Angeles, cheering on a president, this big old parade they're going to have for the Army's birthday on President's birthday. Yeah, big old birthday bash. So we're supposed to worship the military that's poisoning our skies, deploying directed energy weapons against us, using us as guinea pigs, using our sons and daughters to commit atrocious crimes against us. We're supposed to worship them on the president's birthday while he utilizes them to quote unquote save LA, while simultaneously still poisoning us and killing us. They're moving forward with DARPA. They're moving forward. Palantir, everything that we've been trying to explain to people who are so trapped in these fake Nassara plans, these Q plans, all these white hats, these influencers that Pam Bondi brings out that produces nothing on Epstein. We already said they're not going to release the Epstein, because everyone is compromised by it, and it exposes a Mossad operation, which shows. And you can go back to the USS Liberty. What nation has ever bombed and murdered American sailors without us responding to them? Only one. Israel. Period. USS Liberty. And to speak that, they would label you as something that you're not. If you're a Christian, you can never be an anti-Semite. So those lies fall flat to their face. Don't worry about that. But speak the bold truth, report the truth, and they're going to go out and crucify you. Our message to law enforcement has been, why are you out targeting people who are poisoning themselves? Instead of the military, who's poisoning your children, playing God with the weather. Your children are choking on all those poisons. You've seen activists all across America, people like Mellowcat, people have gone out and they've actively gone and combat straight up face to face with chemtrail pilots. You've seen what we've done at military bases. You've seen what's been achieved with the NextRad operations. You see the global media going out and saying that we're a violent militia that's preparing to destroy weather weapons that are weather radars. No. They're weather weapons. They're directed energy weapons.
everything we're telling you guys about the weather weapon system and what the military is doing is 100% true. So they can call conspiracy whatever they want. Doesn't matter. The facts are there. They've been submitted to the feds. Not my fault. Cash Patel and Dan Bongino was supposed to save the FBI. They're all more interested in covering up what's really going on with Epstein, which was a Mossad operation. And, you know, and once you're compromised, well, once you really know Jesus Christ, you don't have to continue the evil you're doing. You know? So I always tell people, when we pray for Trump for his heart to change, because he's a commander-in-chief. Now, you have more floods that's taken place in the past week. It's insane, the numbers. Is it 230 across the nation more? And we told you how they're going to flood you out, and it doesn't matter, even with the directed energy weapons that they're hitting you with that are causing your wildfires. It don't matter, you know. We tell you and show you that. That's real science. That's real evidence. We've shown you. We were up in paradise. We went out and saw. And those of you who've seen the Palisades, Malibu, you see all these places completely wiped out. And the one thing you don't see is rapid rebuilding. You know, it gets to be tiring when the people have the evidence right there in front of them, but they would rather believe a lie. Thank you. They would rather believe a lie. It's really hard to stay calm when you see that people are having to go to extreme measures to take out weapons being used against them, and the federal government, who knows that these violations are occurring under Title 50, subsection 1528. And non-consent was delivered, and the rule of law applies equally to everybody. So it doesn't matter if it's me, which it is, Lori Kramer, which it is. Doesn't matter if 100 of you go up there after us. 10,000 of you is already delivered. We get equal protection. With our equal protection, that means we don't have to absorb their chemicals, their biological agents. We don't have to be plugged into their DARPA internet body of things. We don't have to participate and merge with the beast. And I know that for a fact, because there is a way for God's people to say no. You think he just stops taking care of you when you say no and don't take nothing from the beast? How do you think we get by? Your meteorologists, all their data, people have no idea what goes on in these data centers and what NOAA and NWS really does. Everything comes down from the Department of Defense. These are military weapons. And what they do is they embed the weapons in our infrastructure. They tell you they're giving you these readings and able to warn you of tornadoes, but they're not telling you how they're using electromagnetic frequency bursts to contain storms in an area and make them spend 22 hours. We saw how they steered Helene all the way up into North Carolina. It intensified as it hit the coast. And you can see the next rad data coming out, the microwave burst that's steering it. And the one thing you don't see underneath the storm is any bursts. It's a wide open gap. That was a big storm they put up there. And even the video evidence is provided, people would still rather say no. Well, just because there's so many dumbasses out there that aren't going to stand up and tell our kids like, hey, I'm going to go and try to stop the military from poisoning you and from playing God with the weather, because that's not good. They just murdered a whole bunch of children in Texas. They murdered a bunch of people in North Carolina, Alabama, Virginia, on and on. Nebraska, doesn't matter. Wherever you are, these weather weapons can be deployed against you. Now, here's the thing is, one way we can solve this, and let's just do this in a way, and I'm more than willing to, and this is why I attack certain people like Governor Stitt, because you have authority. We want Governor Stitt to declare that NEXRADs aren't going to be used in the state of Oklahoma. And we have a plan to replace weather alerts to people. But once NEXRADs stops being used, we want you to show you how quick we don't have so many stratospheric aerosol injections, because there's going to be nothing to help form the manipulation, and it's getting too hard. There's going to be nothing to move it. It's not going to be the same sky. And the one thing we're not going to have is, if we're lying, well, we asked President Trump to do a 3-year declaration that there'd be a moratorium on the weather weapon system. Now, I know they don't want me to say weather weapon system. They don't like my rhetoric, and I understand. And you can see the FBI in the interviews, you know, and my rhetoric, which they hate the most, is because it's the boldest truth. You know, I didn't authorize this. And the damage is being done. I've seen it to the fruits in California, Northern California, organic farms, new funguses wiping out peaches, and, you know, and there you just have them spraying more and more over your skies. And then they tell you, no, it's contrails, when that's a lie. And then they say, oh, it's just stuff they're putting in the regular jets. That's a lie. We know every single passenger jet. We can see them all as they're flying. These are unmarked. They're just, pay attention to your sky. You'll see all kinds of stuff that's not showing up on flight radar. That nothing we're going to do is going to violate any law, because it's not against the law. And see, it is the prosecutor's job to prove that those are not directed energy weapons, and that the science that we've submitted, that's off of their patents and their whistleblowers, and the results, well, it'd be on the prosecutor they have to prove where a law is. Now, it's not against the law to destroy a weapon being pointed at you. In fact, even law enforcement tell you, you know, if someone's pulling a weapon on you, just do your best to disarm them, but don't kill them after once you disarm them, you know. So basically, they've got weapons pointed at us, and they're using it. So I'm going to disarm them. It's just me, praise God. But we're going to disarm them. but I'm going to abide by my father, and I'm going to make sure that no one gets hurt, but we have a fair fight. If the United States military wants to have experiments on us and use live exercises on us, then we have a right to stand up and fight for the communities. Even if they're so ignorant they don't know what's going on, they have no right to stop us.
So I've already stated, and as I told everyone, anyone who's going out to disable a NexRad, an ionosphere keter, anyone can get the heart, you know. If that weapon is being utilized, and I'm specific about this, don't touch cell towers. I even told the FBI, you see in the interview, I said, I'm not dumb. Even though the military has equipment on those cell towers, and some of those cell towers aren't even cell towers, and you got new towers going up, you know, I want you to understand that, you know, there's a lot of military targets that are just right around me right now where I ain't got to go, you know, so far out to an airport. It's a 10-mile bike ride out to the airport, you know, and I've done it twice over there. And I've done Norman 8 times, you know. And I think it is over 15 simulations myself. And we're explaining the safest ways of sabotaging the equipment, you know. And we're going to learn from what people do anyways. But our goal is to present a plan to Governor Stitt and say, this is our capabilities. And we want to be able to say we can take out 30. And even if we need 30 days to get the people there and we have enough people committing, then we can say we want to take out 30. Here are 50 that we're targeting, which means you guys got to figure out which one of those 30 are in that 50. You know, we're going to make it a fair fight, you know. And then we'll give them, you know, 30 other targets. They just got to go find them and spread them out. Because one thing they're going to do is they're either going to show the public that they're willing to mobilize security and police officers to protect these directed energy weapons, or they're going to move those law enforcement officers to stop us from trying to protect us from those directed energy weapons. We're not harming anybody. We're protecting everyone. And the science proves that. And then you're going to see cancer rates go down. What we want to do is clean our skies up and stop the poisons. We want to stop this treason, you know. And Governor Stitt, ultimately, in this state, he can stop lying to everybody. He knows what's going on. If you haven't called him, I've got instructions on our Telegram channel. Call him and tell him. You know, we want him to deploy the National Guard, you know, to support us in our operations. Period. Or stand down. Because we presented you a fair fight. And if we're doing anything illegal, then go out and tell the people what we're doing. Are we lying about DARPA? Are we lying about directed energy weapons? Are we lying about the data, the NexRads, the ionosphere keeters, HARP? Are we lying? Are we lying about weather modification? And it isn't corporate cloud seeding, corporate rainmaking. We know what the smoke screens are, but look at the military contracts and who controls America's sky. Would it be the U.S. Air Force? So why is our skies being sprayed with poison? And why our Navy, we have all these weather ships that outnumber our armed ships that supposedly spread democracy when we're a constitutional republic? I guess the constitutional republic isn't good enough for the rest of the world. It's good enough for me. When we say the military is controlling this area is controlled by the Department of Defense and Pam Bondi's FBI, DOJ. Let me set the bike here so we're not in anybody's way in case they do need to get the gate. Hold on, give me a second. There we go. That's secured. This is a secret, not so secret anymore, but this is actually an open secret military installation where they've installed 6 directed energy weapons to manipulate the weather. Governor Stitt actually approved this. He's approved for more NexRads to be built in his state. He's approved for more geoengineering, weather modification contracts going to corporations that are all beholden to the military industrial complex. Smile, you are on camera. Slow down, school zone. Now think about that. Smile, you are on camera. Slow down, man, you're in a school zone. Why is the military putting these giant monstrosities that emit electromagnetic frequencies that make people sick? Why are they putting them near schools? Why are they putting your cell towers near schools? Something about those kids, man. You'll put 2 and 2 together one day and figure it out if you haven't already. So this is Louis Arthur with VOP News. We're covering NexRad penetration drills. This is more of a daytime where we put up the posted signs that are going to be going up where these directed energy weapons are. As you can see, we're over here by Will Rogers Airport, where the U.S. government has a massive facility. NexRad across from us right there. We've got 4 dome towers running down this stretch, and a 5th one that you'll see here in a little while. Now, they are beefing up security. Like, they're not messing around. They want you to know, even if they don't have the personnel on a Sunday and they don't want to call people in, that they're still going to have an empty security truck. So that truck is empty. It's just sitting there parked as if there's someone in it. This gate itself looks to be a welded shut. Now remember, this whole side government property,
that next rad that's fenced in, that section itself is government property, but the private property, the airport, aeronautics center is all on that side. This is a plate weld lock. Security empty. Now, most people aren't going to come over here. You got to think when you're putting your posted sign. So most people, they're not going to see anything different with the bright yellow sign on this fence. And if they do, they're not going to be able to read it. So anywhere we can get a notice to let people know. So we're letting all the people who live in this community know that those are directed energy weapons and that simulation attacks are going and that they're selected. That we have 30 targets out of 50 that we're presenting to Governor Stitt, offering him a chance to deploy the Guard to shut down what the military's doing, manipulating the weather. Oklahoma's the weather capital of the nation. We're going to go down, do our post-its. You guys will be able to see everything good in broad daylight here. You've seen flooding across the nation. Past week and a half, 300 flood incidents. There's flash flood warnings going off continuously. Watching the radars, you're seeing how fast the storms are suddenly generating and being created. And they just pop up all of a sudden and they're already a bright red. That is weather manipulation, weather modification. The military continues their weather experimentation. And remember, the Department of Defense is the one that owns all the technology, the patents, and everything from the military contractors. We might have time to go to General Dynamics to see if they're shredding paperwork this Sunday. But what we can do, if they're parked here, that they're going to see the lettering a little bit better, and people that are walking down the road, you know, and while if they want to get help from Colt, who does general construction, they can also get educated and be forewarned that these towers are not going to be able to continue to be permitted to be utilized. So we're going to set you there. And I'm just going to do a wraparound. Now, more than likely, once we get done today, the people that are living here, guarantee you somebody's going to come out and take a look and see what this is. Maybe they saw it on News 9. News 9 is telling everybody that we're doing this.
This sign was posted near an Oklahoma weather radar, warning that Doppler radars are being targeted.
Is it true that Veterans on Patrol is targeting Oklahoma weather radars?
Absolutely.
Michael Lewis Arthur Meyer, the founder of Veterans on Patrol, says he posted the sign and that the government is controlling the weather.
They can embed their technology in civilian infrastructure in every home and every household, utilizing the phones and their network towers to not only control the weather, modify the weather, but they can do targeted individuals.
But News 9 chief meteorologist David Payne says that's not what weather radars do at all. Meyer argues that the U.S. military is also behind weather modification.
Because when the military plays God with the weather, they're mocking our Heavenly Father.
Is Veterans on Patrol responsible for News 9's weather radar going down? The power.
Veterans on Patrol is responsible for a lot more than that.
Warning. This next rad Doppler radar is targeted for elimination by victims of U.S. military weather experimentation. Non-consent for military experiments upon the American people was provided to the Oklahoma City FBI and Governor Stitt in April of 2025 by VOP News. Operation Leaning Tower is a mission to eliminate the military's use of chemical agents, biological agents, and directed energy weapons against Americans. Title 50, subsection 1528. DC political criminals authorize the military to poison Americans as part of their research into weather creation and manipulation. This weather weapon is no longer lawfully operating and will be going under simulation attacks, along with many other next rads across America. Contact independent investigative journalist me if they have any questions or comments. And I do get people that actually call and want to talk about this stuff. And I'm very grateful because even the ones that are curious and they want me to explain how the military is manipulating the weather, I can break it down to them in about 2 minutes and they walk away, a lot of them, convinced. Why else would we go through all this trouble and go through all this? Why else would we go to the FBI? Why else would we ask the commander-in-chief to stop? Why else is Pam Bondi not receiving our complaints and the evidence and military patents and the work of researcher Lori Kramer, who's got over 25 years experience on military crimes that with them poisoning our skies? There's hidden symbolism, and we're not going to go too far down that rabbit hole, but I always tell people, your military is not serving God, and it's not serving the American people. Your military is playing God with the weather, with these weapons, and they're using the weather against the American people, and they're going to burn you out, and they're going to flood you out, but one way or another, they are going to move you. They're not going to come with tanks and guns and drones and jets. They can't have the world see them murdering Americans with weapons that they're visible. No, they're sending you weather weapons so you can blame God. They're asking, why did God allow this to take place? Why did those children in Texas, those poor kids drown in the river Guadalupe? Why did God do this? God's not doing it. And you're going to stop mocking our God and blaming our God. Have the balls to say who's doing it. President Donald Trump, the United States military is doing this. Don't blame God for what the U.S. military is doing while you throw parades for our sons and daughters and worship them as heroes, and they're sending floods and fires your way because they're taking orders not from God. There's a synagogue of Satan that's still here until our Lord comes back. Y'all better realize you're in a fight, and it's not flesh and blood. So you better get right on the spiritual side so you can march further into the flesh world and pull some people out of the hell they're in. We'll talk more about that later. Uploading the data, it's always data. So your radar operation command center, it's not sitting there like you got hundreds of people watching and activating these weapons. These weapons are already synchronized into one system under AI, artificial intelligence. Now, there are people that are out here that's contacted me. A majority of them are disagreeing with my reporting. They're saying I'm crazy. That's fine. I'm not the one blaming God for what the military is doing. So let's take that to the heavenly court. I can be as crazy as can be, but if I'm right with God and I'm telling the truth, which is what I am, and the nation and everybody wants to blame God and say it's an act of God, no, this is an act of man following Satan. If they were following our Lord and Savior, they definitely wouldn't be playing God with the weather. Now they have to poison you, and you're getting two types of poison. You're getting the stratospheric aerosol injections, which they're getting ready to rename and reclassify, so then new laws and codes have to be. This is just a big game they're doing right now, letting you know that they're doing it while they're not doing it. But they have to poison your skies. You've seen the list of chemicals, biological agents. They fogged cities before, like they did over on the West Coast. We've got a whole list that anyone can go and look up of illegal U.S. military experiments done on the people. And it's insane when you go look at what they've done. They've already fogged us with chemical and biological agents. They've already sent weather weapons to people. They've already done all these things that they say they don't have control of, yet they've admitted to it. And the last president to actually talk about this was Clinton. Bill Clinton let you know that the military was unlawfully doing experiments upon people. And then all of a sudden, you guys had all kinds of boom, boom, booms going on. First thing you do, where's that trust going? Well, if people want some protection in their community and the military's poisoning them, they're going to go to their local militia. And so what they didn't want was, and this is all their mapping, guys. Like, we've seen all this, and our whistleblowers, all their information's been accurate. What they didn't want was the militias to be trusted, and for churches and everybody to start going to the militias to start saying, hey, we got to make our own military, because the U.S. military just got caught poisoning us again. And this is like the 10th time. And remember, they used biological or chemical or biological agents against the Native Americans, infecting their blankets with smallpox, using any type of illnesses that they can generate. So they didn't want you trusting the militias. So the FBI made sure that the militia under Timothy McVeigh would blow up their building, and they made sure you would see children that were blown up in that daycare center and other babies being pulled from the rubble and being held by first responders. Now your trust is back in the system, the firefighters, the police who responded to that bomb that the quote-unquote militia set off with the FBI's assistance in getting all the explosives, means, and know-hows to pull that off. They did the same thing to get Gretchen Wilson, that other governor that's up there in, I think it's Michigan or somewhere, the Michigan governor. Same thing, it was all FBI agents. You just get a couple militia members. Now, it worked because psychologically, the entire nation turned against the militia. That's how stupid Americans are, because they will go with the herd and they will believe whatever they're being told, especially if it's someone from like the FBI or a cop told me so. I mean, that right way is not going to be questioned by the American people. And that really hurt America, set us back. People didn't trust the militia no more. Then our militias, well, they lost purpose. They had no purpose no more, because now they're all domestic terrorists and radicalized according to the FBI, and the FBI was the one that actually did that. And I'm not asking you to put trust back in the militias. We're not a militia, you know, and so many people are trusting us, but that's because we're telling you to put your trust in Jesus. Put your trust in God. If you're 100% sure with the evidence that you've had, and you know what the truth is, and you know that the military's doing this, say their name. Say United States military. Don't get caught into all these smoke screens that they're getting ready to give you from solar radiation management, geoengineering, cloud seeding. No. That's the smoke screen. The United States military controls these skies. It's U.S. Air Force poisoning our skies. They're not using their jets to shoot down the tankers that are dispersing the sky poisons. All of our jets are over there. We're actually protecting the very country that blew up the USS Liberty and helped destroy the 9/11 towers and helped invade America under the Biden administration. That was Israel did all that. And so all of our equipment is over there, supposedly protecting them, but they're not really protecting them. They're just eliminating useless eaters, because that's what they're commanded to do. So don't trust the military, and don't trust the militias. Just trust Jesus.
You don't have to get with a group of guys and get a bunch of guns and go do tactical maneuvers. That's not what a militia is. There are militias all across the United States of America that I know, and that's what the FBI, I mean, they understand it when it was explained to them. I said, they're not in the groups that you guys have all your feds in, that you guys are monitoring, that you guys could entice. I don't deal with those people. They don't know Jesus. They're so compromised by the president and politicians while they say they support the Constitution, but they won't support the Constitution if it's for a Democrat. And I've seen it in too many cases. So we don't have anything to do with them. The militias are your churches, are your fathers who are looking down at their kids as they're choking with asthma and looking up at the sky as it's being sprayed with chemtrails and puts 2 and 2 together. We are not afraid to continue to report on the ground, to show you these weapons, to call them what they are, to post it up, and to continue saying more and more will get sabotaged. More and more. You have to think about black swan scenarios that the feds can't control. And something that they can't control is where you're going to make the biggest impact. And we've been very clear. If you see someone go out and hurt anybody, threaten anybody in the military, threaten anybody working for quote unquote National Weather Service or NOAA or FAA, you don't threaten the people. You pray for the people. And many of them that are working inside, they know something's not right. They know they're lying to the people in some fashion. And everyone knows the Department of Defense is in charge of all of this. The Department of Defense under Hegseth. And don't call and threaten him either. These people are just puppets. They're just playing a rollout in a movie. They're given a script. It's WWE. You got all kinds of Jerry Springer drama, Rosie O'Donnell drama. I mean, it's exactly what the people voted for. Most of the people running their mouths in Congress are still have stocks in what the military is doing. They want this stuff to keep going. So they're trying to convince Americans that if your next rads go down, everyone's going to die because we can't tell you a storm's coming. We wanted to take them down a month ago, but we were still in the height of tornado season, man. That'd be like a bad timing to go and take out quote-unquote Doppler radars because Americans are so programmed by what the media says. By the time most people research to realize they've been had by the military and the president, it's too late. You know, it's too late. You had a moment of opportunity, you know? And that's all we're providing is a window, a moment of opportunity for people to go out, confront these weapons, do everything you can to get others to see them for what they are. Loaded guns that are actually being fired upon us right now. Any of these transmitting right now. And there's a whole bunch that we're going to be bringing you guys out about the electromagnetic frequency. So all these towers, all 6 of them can see each other, direct line of sight. Now, when you look at the transmission bursts that are coming off of the radar maps, you see in Oklahoma City and Norman, giant, well, how do you think they're getting those powerful EMF frequency transmissions? You know, they already have HARP out there heating up the ionosphere and running and rippling out the stratospheric aerosol injections, making the clouds in the weather system. They already have all that. Controlling it was the biggest thing. And as we explained, these next rads, when they're emitting those frequencies, they're pushing the air mass, they're pushing the weather system away. That's it. They're just pushing it away. Now, their frequencies can intensify. It can intensify your winds. It can de-intensify. I mean, it can escalate a storm, de-escalate a storm, make a storm go away. These have more capabilities than what any meteorologist could tell you because they don't even understand the military equipment that's embedded in there. You know, you had Navy ship weapons, directed energy weapons, taken from the ships and put into our communities on top of domes when they first started the Next Rad Tower of installations. Now, when you go back and you look at how many they built up through the 90s, and then you see the increase of storms. And we talked about this. In the 80s, 800 tornadoes across the U.S. 2023, over 1,400. What's the difference? Look at all the new towers. Yeah, you almost got 1,400 if you add the cell towers. And we're going to show people a cell tower that actually, yes, it has cellular communication, but it also has military equipment on it designed by General Dynamics, Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, everyone that's in this big group, this big crew that's working on the weather manipulation system. Boeing Company, Los Alamos National Laboratory, Desert Research Institute, pharmaceutical companies. Now, the News 9 has gone out and they keep sharing that one story, but they haven't updated and they still haven't released all the audio of my interview. The interview I gave them actually informed them, and they really have a duty to notify everybody that I'm a cooperating victim with the FBI. I cooperate in multiple cases against my life, and I cooperate in what the United States military is doing to me against my consent. I deliver non-consent. Now, just because the FBI is failing in their duty to notify doesn't strip me of my rights and protections as a cooperating victim, a federal witness. And News 9 is not letting people know that, even though we provided you guys the live videos, us getting the documents, going to the FBI. We've done everything. And you've seen law enforcement, FBI, oh, Michael Meyer, oh, okay. And then they just walk away. If News 9 would actually tell people that, Griffin Media would tell people that, then people are like, wait a minute, if he's lying and these are just Doppler radars, how can he be a federally protected witness? Why are there threats against his life? Why did the Department of Defense try to have me civilly committed, arrested in the dead of middle of the night and thrown into a psychiatric ward just to see me turn around and let loose. Right away. 72-hour mandatory hold. I was out there in like 27 hours. Doctors knew I weren't crazy. Everyone knew I'm not lying. The people that are involved, a lot of them, especially even in law enforcement, I have probably about a third of the law enforcement I've encountered that know exactly what these weapons are. And they know about DARPA, and they know about the United States Antarctica Project. Many of them are veterans themselves, so they know what the military's doing. They also know it's a big no-no, it's a hush-hush. You're never supposed to tell the civilians, because if the civilians ever get unrest and decide they're going to storm their bases and take over the military, the very command structure that's using our sons and daughters to use weapons against us, then the military's lost power. The people outnumber the military by 1,000 to 1, 10,000 to 1. If everyone gets together, it's insane. And that's what scares them. That's what scares them, is the civil unrest. Now, we don't want people to get civil unrest. We want you to be methodical in your strikes, in your targets, in your sabotage. We want you to be very smart, destroy weapons, don't ever harm a person. That's it. Don't harm anything else other than the weapons, the cooling units, the backup power, just the functionality of that weapon itself. Don't take out a power grid to shut down a weapon and put a bunch of people in the dark. That's not how we operate. We strategically eliminated the car supply line to box them into areas. We didn't just go through and take everything. We got as much as we could to box them in the areas to where the traffic was flowing up, and the ones that were being snuck around Border Patrol were getting caught. So strategically, we want you to do the same thing when it comes to eliminate the weapons that the U.S. military is deploying. And in the interest of heat and getting some things done, and we want other people to see what other next rads look like, we're actually going to close this out live, and then you can go ahead and get ready to end it. And then we will be going live again later or providing hard videos.